Entry 1, third day of harvest moon. Today I arrived in Helm's Gate, a city cloaked in perpetual twilight. The streets are narrow and winding, the cobblestones slick, with a persistent mist that clings to everything. The buildings loom overhead, their facades aged and darkened by centuries of wear. My destination? The Blackwood Gallery, a place of renown and mystery. The gallery itself is a foreboding structure on the northeast edge of the city. Its towering spires reach skyward, piercing the gray clouds that perpetually hover above. The windows, tall and narrow, are barred with thick iron grates, a curious feature for an art gallery. When I inquired about this, Master Calder, the elderly curator who will be training me, explained that they were installed many years ago as a deterrent to thieves. "The collection is invaluable," he said with a cryptic smile, "and some would do anything to possess even a piece of it." The gallery's interior is no less intimidating. The walls are lined with tapestries and paintings of unimaginable age. Their subjects, often dark and disturbing. The air is thick with the scent of old wood and varnish, and the silence is oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of floorboards or the distant, muted sounds of the city outside. My quarters are somewhat modest, situated in the east wing of the gallery. A small bed, a writing desk, and a wardrobe are my only furnishings. I've been given this journal to document my experiences here, which I intend to do faithfully. Despite the unsettling atmosphere, I'm eager to begin my duties. There is something about this place that draws me in, like a moth to a flame. Entry 2, my first night, fourth day of harvest moon. My first night at the gallery was more unsettling than I anticipated. The wind howled outside, causing the barred windows to rattle in their frames. I could not sleep, so I decided to explore the gallery by candlelight, hoping to familiarize myself with the layout. As I wandered through the dimly lit halls, I found myself drawn to a particular painting called The Hollow Men. It depicts a group of faceless figures standing in a barren landscape, their bodies contorted in unnatural ways. The background is a swirling vortex of dark clouds, and the figures seem to be reaching towards the viewer, as if pleading for release. I stood before it for what felt like hours, captivated by its eerie presence. The figures seemed to shift slightly when I wasn't looking directly at them, and I swear I heard faint whispers. When I finally tore myself away from the painting and returned to my quarters, I felt a strange chill, as if something was watching me from the shadows. I tried to dismiss it as my imagination, a trick of the mind brought on by the late hour and the eerie surroundings. Tomorrow, I must venture out into the city to procure more supplies. Despite the gallery's unsettling aura, I'm determined not to let it affect me. I'm a man of reason, and I refuse to be swayed by superstition. Entry 3, fifth day of harvest moon. Today was my first full day of work under Master Calder's tutelage. He guided me through the gallery's extensive collection, explaining the history and the significance of each piece. There are paintings here from every corner of the known world, some centuries old, others of more recent origin. One painting in particular caught my attention, The Mourning Bride. It portrayed a woman in a flowing black gown, her face obscured by a veil, standing before a tomb with her hand resting on the cold stone. Her eyes, the only vibrant element, are a haunting, unnatural shade of green. As I studied the painting, I thought I heard a soft sobbing sound. I turned to see if anyone was there, but the hall was empty. When I mentioned this to Master Calder, he simply smiled and said, "The gallery has a way of playing tricks on those who aren't yet accustomed to its atmosphere. Pay it no mind." Later, I ventured out in the city to purchase some supplies. The streets of Helmsgate are a labyrinth, and I found myself lost more than once. The people I encountered were friendly enough, though they seemed wary when I mentioned the Blackwood Gallery. One shopkeeper, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, warned me to be careful. I brushed off her words as the ramblings of a superstitious old woman, but the sense of unease has lingered. The gallery feels different now, more oppressive, as if the very walls are closing in around me. The whispers are more frequent, a soft, insistent murmuring just beyond the edge of hearing. I'm beginning to feel the weight of this place, but I will not be deterred. I came here for a reason, and I will see it through. Entry 4, 6th day of Harvest Moon. Last night the whispers were louder, more distinct. They seemed to come from the very walls of the gallery, a constant, maddening drone that filled my head. I could not sleep, so I rose from my bed and lit a candle, determined to confront whatever was causing the disturbance. As I walked through the dark halls, the flickering candlelight casting long, twisted shadows on the walls, I found myself once again drawn to the hollow men. The whispers grew louder as I approached, and I could feel a shiver run down my spine. The figures in the painting were no longer just twisted shapes. They were moving, writhing, as if trying to escape their canvas prison. I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. The whispers faded into silence, but the sense of dread remained. I returned to my quarters, shaken, but determined not to let fear take hold. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hollow, faceless figures reaching out towards me. Master Calder had been acting strangely as well. He seemed distant, almost as if he'd been avoiding me. When I asked him about the history of the gallery, he brushed me off, saying only that it is a place of great power and mystery. I can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong here. The gallery is getting under my skin, and I fear that it may be affecting my mind. Entry 5, 7th day of Harvest Moon. Today, I discovered a hidden room in the west wing of the gallery, concealed behind a tapestry depicting a nightmarish landscape. It is a small, circular chamber with a single piece of furniture, a large, ornate mirror. The frame is gilded and intricately carved with strange symbols that I do not recognize. The glass is dark, almost black, and when I look into it, I see not my reflection, but a distorted, shadowy figure staring back at me. The figure has no distinct features, but its eyes, if they could be called that, they're piercing, glowing faintly in the darkness. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread and quickly turned away, but the image was burned forever into my mind. When I tried to find Master Calder to ask him about the room, he was nowhere to be found. His absence is becoming more frequent, and it's beginning to unsettle me. I've never seen him leave the gallery, and yet he seems to disappear for hours at a time. The gallery is becoming more oppressive with each passing day. I feel as though it is alive, feeding off my fear and uncertainty. The barred windows now seem less like a deterrent to thieves and more like a prison, keeping me trapped inside. I ventured out into the city again today, hoping to clear my mind. The people I encountered were the same as before, friendly but distant, as if they sensed the growing darkness within me. I considered leaving, just walking away and never looking back, but something held me here. The gallery had a hold on me, a grip that tightens with every passing moment. I am beginning to fear that I may never leave this place. Entry 6. 8th day of Harvest Moon. The whispers are no longer confined to the night. They follow me throughout the day, a constant, maddening presence that I cannot escape. The laughter has begun as well, a high-pitched, cruel sound that echoes through the halls, mocking me. It is as if the gallery itself is taunting me, driving me to the brink of madness. Last night I found myself back in front of the Hollow Men, unable to resist its pull. The figures in the painting were more distinct, their faces emerging from the shadows, their eyes filled with rage and sorrow. They were no longer just images on canvas. They were alive, and they were coming for me. I fled to the hidden room with the mirror, hoping to find some refuge, but what I saw there nearly drove me mad. The shadowy figure in the mirror was no longer just a reflection. It was living, a breathing entity, its eyes glowing with dark intent. It reached out towards me, its hand pressing against the glass as if trying to break through. I ran from the room, my mind racing with fear and confusion. I no longer know what is real and what is a product of my imagination. The gallery is consuming me. Entry 7, 9th day of Harvest Moon. I'm starting to lose track of time. The days and nights blur together, the hours slipping away like sand through my fingers. The whispers, the laughter, they have become a constant backdrop to my existence, a never-ending torment that erodes my sanity. I ventured out into the city again today, though I do not know why. Perhaps I thought the fresh air would clear my mind, or perhaps I was trying to escape the gallery's oppressive hold. But even outside, I felt the gallery's presence, like a dark shadow looming over me. The people I encountered smiled and waved, but their eyes were hollow, their expressions vacant. They were like puppets, going through the motions of life without truly living. I thought about leaving the city, just walking away and never looking back. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, I felt an overwhelming dread, as if some unseen force was warning me not to. The gallery's grip on me is tightening, and I'm powerless to resist it. When I returned home, I found that Master Calder had returned. He was in the main hall, standing before the Hollow Men, his eyes fixed on the painting. I approached him, desperate for answers, but he simply turned to me with a sad, knowing smile. "The gallery has chosen you," he said, his voice a low whisper. "There is no escape. You are bound to it now, just as I was." Before I could respond, he walked away, turned a corner in a hall. I tried to follow him, but as soon as I turned the corner myself, he was nowhere to be found. I rushed back to my room, but no, wait, I was in the room with the mirror. Yes, I was hoping to find some answers, but what I saw there shook me to my core. The shadowy figure in the reflection was gone, replaced by a new image, a portrait of Master Calder, his face twisted and hollow, his eyes empty. Beside it, another portrait had begun to take shape, though it was incomplete. The outline was unmistakable. It was me. The gallery is consuming me piece by piece. feel it erasing who I am, replacing me with something dark and twisted. I am becoming one of the hollow men. Entry 8. 10th day of harvest moon. I am no longer certain what is real. The gallery has twisted my perception, distorted everything I see and hear. The walls close in around me, the shadows lengthening and twisting into grotesque shapes. They mock my every move. The whispers have grown louder, their words now clear and terrifying. Join us, they say. Become one with us. Last night I had a vision. Perhaps it was a nightmare, though it felt very real. I was in the hidden room with the mirror, standing before 2 portraits. Master Calder's hollow eyes stared back at me, and the incomplete portrait of myself seemed to writhe on the canvas, as if it were alive. The shadowy figure appeared once more, stepping out of the mirror, its form shifting and changing until it became an exact replica of me. It reached out and I felt its cold, clammy hand close around my wrist. Come, it whispered in my own voice. It's time. I awoke in my bed, drenched in sweat, my heart racing, but the cold touch of the shadowy figure still lingered on my skin. I knew it was not just a dream. The gallery is breaking down the barriers between reality and nightmare, drawing me deeper, deeper into its dark embrace. Today I found the painting of the mourning bride has changed. The woman's veil was lifted, revealing a face twisted in agony. Her eyes now the same as those of the hollow men. Her hand, once resting on the tomb, was now pressed against the glass, as if trying to escape the confines of the painting. I could feel her despair, her sorrow, as if they were my own. I tried to leave the gallery to escape the madness that had surrounded me, but the doors were sealed shut. The barred windows, once a supposed deterrent, are now a prison, trapping me inside. I stood at the windows screaming for help, but the people outside, those I had met on my excursions into the city, simply waved back at me, their faces cheerful and oblivious to my plight. They could not see my distress, could not hear my cries. It was as if I were invisible to them, a ghost trapped in a world they could no longer perceive. The gallery had claimed me. I am its prisoner, its plaything, and I can feel it slowly erasing who I am, replacing me with something else. I am losing myself, becoming one with the darkness that permeates this place. Entry 9. 11th day of the harvest moon. The hollow men are no longer confined to the canvas. They have broken free, their twisted forms stalking the halls of the gallery. I can hear their footsteps in the darkness, slow and deliberate, as they search for me. Their whispers are now a deafening chorus, filling my head with thoughts that are not my own. Last night I encountered one of them. It was in the east wing near the painting of the weeping lady. The figure emerged from the shadows, its form indistinct at first, but as it drew closer, I could see the hollow, featureless face, the tattered clothes hanging from a body that seemed to be made of shadow and smoke. It reached out to me, its hand a twisted claw. I felt a surge of terror so intense that I could hardly breathe. I ran, stumbling through the darkness, the laughter of the hollow men echoing behind me. I reached the hidden room, hoping to find some refuge, but what I saw there shattered the last remnants of my sanity. The portrait of Master Calder was complete now, his face fully transformed into that of a hollow man. But it was the second portrait that terrified me the most. It was me, my face twisted and hollow, my eyes empty and lifeless. The transformation was almost complete. I could feel it. The gallery is feeding off of my fear, my despair. It's turning me into one of them, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Entry 10, 12th day of Harvest Moon. This will be my last entry. The hollow men are everywhere now, their twisted forms prowling the halls, their whispers drowning out my thoughts. The gallery has claimed me. There is no escape. I tried once more to leave, but the doors still sealed, the windows barred. The gallery is alive, its walls shifting and closing in around me, trapping me in a nightmare from which there is no waking. I stood at the window, screaming for help, but the people outside simply smiled and waved, unaware of the horror that surrounds me. I'm invisible to them, a ghost in a world that no longer exists. I can feel the transformation taking hold, the last vestiges of my humanity slipping away. I am to become a hollow man, my soul devoured by the darkness that pervades this place. Soon I will join them, a hollow, lifeless shell, forever trapped within the walls of the Blackwood Gallery. If anyone finds this journal, I beg you, do not enter this place. Do not fall into the same trap that I did. The gallery is a prison, a tomb for the souls it claims. Leave this place and never return, for once you enter, you'll never leave. The hollow men are here. They're waiting.